Hey guys, and in this video I'm going to run you through my automated cold email system that basically allows you to customize the hell out of your cold emails. If this sounds like something you'll be interested in, then be sure to stick around. So what you're looking at here is a quick flow that I've created for the automation that we'll build out today. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to scrape Apollo with Apify. This is just a way to scrape a bunch of leads for cheap. Then we're going to put all the data gathered from the scraper and all of the leads and prospects data into a Google Sheet. We're going to feed all that data into AI to craft a personalized email message for each individual prospect. Then we're going to put that message into a Google Sheet and finally email us once the entire process is finished. The reason for emailing ourselves is that this process can take quite a while to finish, depending on how many leads you have fed into the automation. And then, of course, once the final message has been put into a Google Sheet, which looks a little like this: subject line, personalized first line offer, call to action, PS, all custom for each individual lead, you can click on file and download as a CSV to upload to your email provider, whether that be Instantly or Smart Lead, whatever you use. You can see here, I've got a ton of leads from a previous run that I did with this automation. Hi Mark, found you over on LinkedIn, the TLDR, roughly 5K a month to your digital talent agency with a few automated systems. What you're looking at, the offer. PS, even if we just chat, would love to hear what you're doing with digital talent. So you can see there, a very brief overview, but this is kind of what we're going to be creating today and completely automating using n8n. So first off, what you want to do, if you haven't already, these two nodes here are for later on. If you haven't already, you'll need to create a n8n account. It's free for the first time you've signed up. If you have already signed up, it will cost a little bit of money. I believe it's like $20 a month, so not too bad. But first off, what we're going to do is we'll need to connect to Typeform. So if you click the first step here, Typeform, click on Typeform, you'll need to create a connection if you haven't already. How you do that is you'll just get a personal access token within Typeform. You just go to your account settings, and then in the left sidebar there will be like generate personal token or something like that, and then you'll generate a personal token, paste it in here, and click save, and it should all be connected. Once you're connected to Typeform, what you'll need to do is create a Typeform itself that we're going to be putting an Apollo link in, or Apollo URL link in. So how I've set it up is literally a one question Typeform: what is your Apollo link? So an Apollo link, if we head into Apollo here, you'll have to search Apollo in the search bar. Apollo, just go Apollo, click here. If you haven't already signed up, you'll need to sign up. If you have an account, you can just log in there. And then the Apollo link is basically the search a search link that you've created within Apollo. So you can see here, I've already created a search. I want email statuses to be verified, which is pretty cool. We can get verified emails as well with this. I've created job titles, location, employees, the industry I want, staffing and recruiting. And I've created this search within this people search within Apollo. Once you've created this people search, what you can do is copy this link in the search bar. You can triple click or Command A on Mac. I'm not sure what it is on Microsoft. And then what you can do is copy that, and then you'll just paste that directly in there. But I'm not going to submit this yet because I need to connect to the Typeform. I haven't named the Typeform. It's just my new Typeform. And then you can click Command S to save. And then what I'm going to do, now that I've crafted a search, you'll need to create a search as well within Apollo. You don't have to do anything, you just create all the fields that you want within here, and then you just leave it and copy and paste this URL, paste it into your Typeform, and you can click submit. And now this should have to submit another one. Okay, what I'm going to do is copy this URL again, paste it in here, make sure this is running. I'm going to run it again. Watch. Also going to do this. I'm going to submit this. Now, this has run successfully, and now we've cached that URL, that Apollo search URL. Now what we're going to do is use this URL and connect it to Apify to scrape all of the leads from that URL. So now what we can do is head into an HTTP request, make this method to be post, and now what we need is a URL to request to Apify. So what you can do is sign up to Apify. Once you've signed up, gone through all the onboarding processes, you'll be sent into a page that looks like this, Apify store. Once you're in this page, just search for Apollo. The one we're looking for, the scraper we're looking for, or the actor, as Apify will call it, is the Apollo scraper, scrape up to 50,000 leads. Click on that. It costs $1.20 per 1,000 leads, which is pretty crazy, as opposed to Apollo's pricing, $49 a month. This is $1.20 per 1,000 leads. I mean, it's pretty good. And then when you scroll down, you can see here is the search URL. This is the exact URL that we put into Typeform just before. And this is where we are going to programmatically, or through the API, through n8n, run this actor autonomously. So what we're looking for in this page, however, is if you head up to API endpoints, and then we want to be looking for the run actor synchronously, and get dataset items. You can copy this, go back to n8n, and paste it directly in this URL. Then the last thing you'll want to do is go over and click send body. Keep JSON as it is, specify body, change this to using JSON, head back to Apify, click off this, and then you want to switch from manual to JSON, and then you can copy this entire JSON into this JSON field in the HTTP request. The last thing we want to do is delete the current URL in there, if there is one, and leave the quotes. You can see there, if I zoom in, there's these two quotes here still. What we're going to do is drag and drop the answer from Typeform. This is dynamic field that is provided by the Typeform trigger, and drag it in between these two quotes, So what we want to do to allow dynamic fields to be in there is click expression, and then in between these two quotes, drag the Typeform answer here and drop it in between these two quotes. You can see there's that quote and there's the first quote. You can also specify the amount of leads that you want to scrape. The minimum amount is 500. You could also add this as a question within Typeform to specify the amount of leads that you want to scrape. Maybe sometimes you want to scrape 1,000, other times you want to scrape 5,000, 10,000, and so on. You can specify that, and then that'd just be another dynamic field that you can drag and drop into this JSON field. Okay, now what we can do is we can test this. I'm going to pin this data so that I don't have to submit a Typeform over and over again. I'll just save a bit of time from that end. So this could take some time, like I mentioned at the start about emailing ourselves. Depending on how many leads you scrape, it can take quite some time to run through the entire process. Like as we can see here, this is only 500 leads, and it's going to take a couple minutes to scrape. And we can make sure that the scraper is working by heading back into Apify, clicking on runs here in the left sidebar, and then you can see here the scraper is running, and that is as expected. We can even click on here and see what part it's up to. We can see so far it's scraped 300 people. It's scraped 4 pages so far, and it looks like it'll be scraping 2 more pages to get to that 500 limit that I've set. And then after this, we're going to use this data and put it directly into Google Sheets. There we go, it's scraped 500 here, and we can see all the data. This is all the data that we're going to be using to craft the personalized message. We've got the city, the country, the email, verified email status, which is really cool. And then a bunch more data, the LinkedIn URL, company LinkedIn URL. And somewhere we've got the title, and there should be the description of their LinkedIn somewhere. Here, headline, which is cool. And now that that's done, here we go. We can see this has been a success. I'm also going to pin this data so I don't have to run the scraper every time. And we can see we have all these fields. If I drag this over, we have all these fields that we can now use later on. So what we're going to do is now add this data to a Google Sheet. What I want to do is I want to create a Google Sheet and then add the data in. What's kind of annoying with Apify, n8n is that if you try to do it the normal way, where you go Google Sheets, create a spreadsheet, I'll just name it test, scraper. If I just do that, I'm also going to add an aggregator here. You can see there's 500 items. That means if I feed that straight into here, n8n is going to create 500 spreadsheets in my Google Drive, which I don't want. So I'm just going to add an aggregator there to change these 500 items to be 1. So if I do this and I run this, you can see that it successfully created a Google Sheet. Let's see if I can, what did I name it? Test scraper. Test scraper. So you can see it successfully created the Google Sheet. However, the issue is when there's no headers within a Google Sheet, n8n cannot add, like if we go, it cannot add rows, which is, yeah, a bit of a shame. If we go append a row in a sheet, which is like adding a new row to a Google Sheet, we cannot say, if we drag this back over and change the document to be by ID, drag in the Google Sheet ID, and then change this from list to from name, sheet 1. The sheet, if you didn't know, this sheet here is just the sheet name right down here in the Google Sheet. You can see it's called sheet 1. It's always sheet 1 by default. But you can see it says no columns found in Google Sheets, retry. And the reason it's doing this is because there's nothing in the first line. There's nothing like subject. Like you'll see now, if we head back into Apify, because I've added subject, now there's a subject line, and now I can add values into a Google Sheet. But if there's no values in this first row, then I cannot create or add rows just without headers. Let me know if you guys have if you have found a way to do this within the Google Sheets node, but I haven't found a way to do it. So the way I do it is by still creating a Google Sheet, but then using the Google Sheet API via an HTTP request, which are these two nodes here. First off, what I'll do is I'd put the headers into Google Sheets through an HTTP request. So you can see here, you guys will have access to this. So I won't go too in depth into what's happening here. But here is really all you need to worry about. This is where all the headers are going to be added. So if I delete all of this, and here, this, go 2 quotes. Okay, 2 quotes, there we go. Now between these quotes is where you can put the headers that you want for the Google Sheet. So in our case, I think I'll name it the same as these. So I'm going to copy over these and then paste these in here. You can see there's all the headers that I want. But to make this work, what we need to do is put in quotations all of these. Personalized first line, put in quotes, comma, put the offer in quotes. There we go. Put call to action in quotes. So everything that's within quotes represents a new column, pretty much, that the API should add values to. So now this should add all of these headers into a newly created Google Sheet. I'm going to keep it the same name. Delete that. Get back in here, and this should work. Should successfully add headers. So if we go back to Google Sheets, refresh this. Test scraper. There we go. Now we can see these headers. They have automatically been put into Google Sheets, which is exactly what we want, because now we can use these headers to add rows as we normally would. So now we can go ahead and add the rows as we would. So I'm actually, because I'm aggregating this, I'm going to add an if. If if I'm going to say item index is equal to, in a number format, is equal to 1, I believe. That just basically means item index, if you don't know, it just counts the amount of items that are moving through. So you can see here, these 500 items, item index, it will count each item that moves through. This is one thing I've actually requested over on my LinkedIn. I think it'll be cool to have, a built-in increment node like they do in make.com. Their increment module makes things a lot easier having a built-in one instead of having to do item index, which doesn't always work, but hopefully it works this time. So now, so when the first item goes through, it should go down this path and add the headers. Headers along with the first. I wanted to add the headers along with the first row that I want. These are actually the wrong. No, these are not the headers I want at the moment. The headers I want are these headers. These are the headers I want, not these ones. So let's replace these. Looks a bit messy at the moment, so just. Why is this going on the side? Put a quote there, first name, comma, last name, comma, website, comma, LinkedIn, comma, email, oops, comma, organization, URL, comma, country, comma, personal LinkedIn, I think that's personal LinkedIn headline, right? Let's check. Yeah, personal LinkedIn headline, comma, organization name, comma, title, comma, organization, founded year. Okay, so these are the headers that I want. Now I believe we can add another curly square brackets. Square brackets basically represent a new row. And then we can do the exact same thing. But in this case, what we want is adding the first name, again in quotes. We're doing the exact same thing now, but with dynamic variables. Do they have a first name and last name? Okay, they have a first name and last name. Quotes, last name, drag that in there. Remembering to wrap everything in quotes, then a comma. Then we need their website. Where's the website? Not employment history, we don't need that. Can we? Organization website URL right here. Drag and drop that into there. Comma. Then what do we need? We need LinkedIn URL. This is going to be the personal LinkedIn URL. Right here. Comma. Quote, comma. Then what do we need? We need the email. So, email. Email's right here. Everything is in red at the moment. And that will be fixed in a second. Organization LinkedIn URL. Organization. Here we go. That's this LinkedIn URL. You can see if it's an organization LinkedIn URL by seeing if it has company in the URL. Then you know it's a organization one and not the personal one, which you can see doesn't have company in it. What else do we need? We need their country. City, country. Quotes again, comma. Country, personal LinkedIn headline. Let's look for this. We don't need languages, nor do we need departments, nor sub-departments. None of that. Headline. LinkedIn headline. Maybe I've missed it. Headline, here we go. This is their personal LinkedIn headline. Quote, comma. We almost done now. Organization name. Organization name. There's title there. We need the organization name. There we go. Here's the organization name. Quote, comma. There's a title, which is up here. And then we need founded year. This is just another useful piece of information that I've found can be useful, having their founded year. And then quotes. Now what does this say? Can't determine which item to use. I believe because only one item should be being passed down here, we can change this item to last. This might have to be changed. Or first. This could be first. So this basically just tells the automation to, or n8n to choose the first item. And we can do this for all. Change this item to first. First. First, 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 first. Changing all these items to first. Okay, now I'm going to run this again. Disconnect this just in case. And then it should create another one with the first row, another Google Sheet with a first row of data on it. So let's run this. This might need to have a comma here. I think that's the issue. Let's see. This shouldn't have two quotes. Okay, let's see now. See if this works now. Yeah. Okay. Let's test scraper. Where is it? Let's reload. Test scraper. And there we go. This is the one that didn't work. Here we can see as the headers there that we've added. We can put those in bold. And that first line, we can make sure Henry Keys is the first one, the first person in the data set by checking here. Henry Keys, he is the first one indeed, which is perfect. You can also see this worked as expected because only one item got passed down here, not 500, and the other 499 went down here, which is where we can add the last of the data. I'm thinking we don't need another HTTP request in this case. I'm not sure why I had a HTTP node there. We could use a traditional Google Sheets append for everything else to make it much easier. I believe. I believe. I'm gonna leave that there for now, but now I need to figure out how to get this. Need to figure out how to get this ID down here. I'm gonna try something, just bear with me here. I'm not sure this will work. But if we go document by ID, does this pick up this Google Sheet? By name, sheet 1. It's picking up these correctly. Maybe if we go here and we take the spreadsheet ID from the HTTP node. Maybe if we change this to node. Node. Let me just try this out quickly. Not sure this will work. Ah, it does. Cool. There we go. Okay. So what I've done here to fix that issue is I referenced the node itself. You can see at the start it was, what did it look like? It looks like JSON.spreadsheetID, but instead I changed it a bit to reference the node itself instead of the value inside the node only. This is just a bit of JavaScript, I believe it is, within n8n. You can see put headers in Google Sheet is the name of the node itself. So I'm referencing the node itself and then asking n8n to retrieve the ID. But now we will have to see. Oh, that's because this is here. We will have to see if this works. This might not work. Just because both of these are going this way. But it could work. So let's just test this out. Hopefully it goes up this way first, which it did. Okay, cool. It looks like it could work. So now let's go first now. And let's add all these. Website. Where's website? We don't need this. Website URL. LinkedIn URL. We're just dragging and dropping all of these values. Email. Where's email? Organization, LinkedIn. This was down a bit. LinkedIn URL. That company. Country. Organization name while we're at it. Is country. Languages, don't need that. You also have a phone number if you would prefer to get a phone number. 2007. Don't believe anything was down here. Oh, here's the website. Where's the website? Oh, do we have the website? Oh, we have the website. We need title. Organization name. Do we have the name as well? Is it? Oh, we have them. Oh. Why these? Organization name. Let me bring that one on. Ah, this big blue. Okay. LinkedIn headline. Country. State, city, country. And then the title, I believe, is up here. Yeah. Okay. So the moment of truth. I'm going to remove everything from here. Test scraper. Delete those and then run these. Okay, let's see if this works. The moment of truth. And it worked. So now what we have is a huge list, depending on how long it is. We have 500, but a big list of data that is organized. If you were to download this data directly from n8n as a CSV, it would be a lot more messy. Oh, there we go. We'll click that. We have the website, LinkedIn, email, country, personal LinkedIn headline, and founded year. Now we're going to use all this information to generate those cold emails. So that is great that is all working. I think, again, what I might do is pin this data and then start the entire process from here, maybe. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll do this. So that's great that that worked. It's a bit of a workaround. It's Make.com does have this, but n8n doesn't, which is a bit of a shame. You cannot add rows to a Google Sheet if you have if you don't have headers already in the Google Sheet. I think the workaround is a bit technical, but once you have the workaround, it is great to have because it is definitely a bit annoying not having that kind of node within n8n. But there's a workaround, and I guess it is what it is until n8n fixes it or adds that feature to be able to add data without headers in a Google Sheet. But anyway, now what we have to do is use this data to create the personalized first line. So what I want to do, I think, is that I want to only reach out to people who have LinkedIn URLs. So you can see in here, not everyone has a LinkedIn. So I want to filter out every profile that doesn't have a LinkedIn, because in my cold email, I want to reference their LinkedIn. So what we're going to do is head into OpenAI, message a model under text actions. And in here, this is where we're going to create all the prompts to create the cold email itself, the personalized cold email. And for this, you'll need to create an OpenAI account. What you'll do, there's many tutorials around on how to get your API key. Organization ID is optional, but the API key, it's free to use, I believe. If it's your first time signing up, I believe you get $5 worth of free credit. That might have changed. That might have been a while ago that was around. But yeah, you'll need to connect your OpenAI account. Once you've connected your account, we'll choose a model. I'm just going to do 4o, search 4o. And then the prompt itself, I've created a prompt here. For the sake of saving time, I'm not going to write this all in. I'm going to paste that all in here. To JSON string, there we go. So that's the user prompt. The second prompt is another user prompt, and it's actually first, before feeding into here, I want to process each lead individually. So I'm going to add a loop node. So this just gives us more control over how the data is being processed through the flow, rather than dumping all these leads into OpenAI at once. We can process these individually. So if we go loop there, I'm tempted to pin this just because I don't want this to run every time creating a new Google Sheet. That'll be fine this time. We put that in bin. We run this again. Put the headers in there. Put that into the loop. There we go, one item, put it in the loop. And then I believe, because we want to feed all the data in, I think the easiest way to do this is creating an expression. Is it to JSON string, maybe? Is it to JSON string? Do you reference the node, maybe? Loop over items? No. To JSON string. I might just feed these all in individually. Loop. Okay, so I figured out what to do. The issue was it's not to JSON string immediately, it's node. I don't know why I didn't think of this. You reference the node. Loop over items dot JSON .json. Oh, dot. So this should work now. Let's run this through again. This should work. I'm gonna stop this. Let's see, it didn't. So for some reason, this first loop, because that first run didn't provide any data for some reason. Let's run this twice. Let's loop it twice. Let's try now. Okay, so something's not working here. Maybe if we append, because it looks like it's sending one item through after it's appended all of the data. Because if we run this, let me show you guys quickly what I think is happening. Yeah. It does say 500 items there. I thought it said 0, which is interesting. But regardless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Sheets and I'm going to go to Get. This should kind of reset everything. So if I go by ID again, this doesn't show the ID, which is a bit annoying actually. Indeed, that is. So what I'm going to do is I might have to reference the node manually. Node, we're going to do put headers, or you can just copy and paste from here, because I know this holds the Google Sheet ID. Put headers in Google Sheet. Dot item dot JSON. Is it not that? No. Dot JSON. What's the... If we actually copy and paste this in here. There we go, okay. Google node spreadsheet ID. Okay, and then this we can do by name. This will always be sheet 1. And then this will just get all the rows to that Google Sheet that was created previously. What I'm also going to do, I think I am going to pin this data, just so I can reuse this data over and over again and not encounter any rate limit issues with Google Sheets, which I seem to come across all the time. So if we go trigger, where's trigger? Add another trigger, trigger manually. Add this trigger here. Now just test this part. Okay, so that runs through this. What I'm going to do for now is remove the Typeform trigger. If it decides to delete. Let's test this workflow. Yeah, okay. Our reference nodes are unexecuted. Yes, that's right, because it's requesting this. Okay, then never mind. We're not going to do this. We're going to do it this way. A little bit of troubleshooting. We'll actually keep a trigger manually. Luckily, I didn't unpin this node. Okay, now if I run this, we might encounter some rate limits, hopefully not. It's taking a wee while. Fingers crossed it works. This is taking a good while. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin that, however. Because that doesn't need to be pinned anymore. Just as I said it, too many requests. Okay. Okay, I'll get back to you guys in a second. When this starts working again. Okay, so I've waited a little while, and it seems that we are no longer encountering any rate limit requests. So let's run this out. This is only retrieving one item, which is okay, because I believe there is only one item. I believe. Let's make sure this is correct. If we go on here, to change the sheet ID. Yeah, there's only one in there, which is normal. Okay, now, but actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a sheet that has a bunch of data already in it. If there is one, yeah, I'll take this ID so that we can filter through it. C1. Okay, now let's run this. Should have 500 items. Yep, there we go. Now we've got all the data. And now we should be able to loop it through here. This should resolve the issue. Let's check. Yep, so it's run 3 times, which is a good sign. And the way we can see if it worked is by clicking on here, this dynamic variable, and there's all the data in there. So basically what this dynamic variable is doing is it's referencing the loop over items node, and then basically what the to JSON string, what that does is it just compiles all of the JSON fields in here, and or compiles all of the fields in here and converts them to JSON, so that AI can then read it. And you can see here actually that the email is here, but one thing we need to do is output content as JSON, just so that individual fields instead of one big piece of data. So let's do that and run it again. And now it should be formatted more nicely. There we go. Personal first line, offer, call to action, and PS. So now we'll read that in a second, but first off, what we're going to do is add these into a Google Sheet. If you wanted to create a Google Sheet, you could do what we did over here with the if and using the HTTP request, but for the purposes of keeping this shorter than it already is, it's already getting pretty long, the video, I'm going to create, actually I'm going to duplicate this, I'm going to make a copy of this, sample, and then I'm going to use this sheet only. But you could create the sheets just like we did previously with the HTTP request and then automatically add the first headlines. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use this Google Sheet here. So now what we can do is Cicero. Yeah. We can get into another Sheets node, head into another Sheets node, and then go append row and sheet. And then we can go from list and then choose this. And here we go. We've got the subject line, personalized first line, and this is where we can plug in these fields here. Personal first line, offer, call to action, the PS, and then the email address, which will be found in the loop node. Email address here. And now, this is pretty much all done. I'm going to rename these. Create email, add custom email to sheet. Oh, can't spell today. Get lead data. Add lead data to sheet. Create sheet. If item equals 1, run Apify scraper or a folder. This can now be deleted. And what I'm going to do also is add a wait here just to try and avoid what do you call it? Google Sheet requests and rate limits that we did just before, and I had to wait a second, around 10 minutes, for that to recover itself. And then this will work, but we just got to figure out a way to now email ourselves once this entire process is done. Which, now I think of it, once this is done here in the loop, we can just email ourselves. So now after the second run runs, I'll stop it there. We can see in here, it's using the same name. Are these the same? Henry 2 and 3. Is this true? We get into here. Oh, that's true. It scraped the same guy twice. Okay. Okay, that's okay then. It's not too much of an issue. So we can run this and we'll just run it 3 times instead of 2 times. Not sure why it scraped two of the same people there in the scraper. After you've scraped all the leads, usually what I do as well is I just kind of filter through each of them. I remove duplicates. Sometimes I'll add a Google Apps script within each Google Sheet to automatically remove duplicates. But usually there's not too many duplicates there. And I just stopped it before I ran 3 times. Anyway. Oh no. Oh no, that was the first 2 times. I thought it ran 4 times. That's not supposed to happen. No. But this is all okay. Personalized first line. I know you're running a tight ship at ISL Talent. We can check if he works at ISL Talent by heading to his LinkedIn within the big database of leads that we scraped. We can see his name's Henry Keys. He works at ISL Talent. He works at ISL Talent, so you can verify that he works there and all. I'm not going to spend too much time on these LinkedIn profiles. Also, yeah, Henry. The TLDR, I think I can have roughly 5K per month to your recruitment agency and your recruitment game through some, what does it say? Through some slick automation systems. What you're seeing right now is actually one of the automation systems, automated emails from systems that I crafted, which help Savvyflow boost their revenue by 5K per month in just a few months. It's totally risk-free. I guarantee 10 booked appointments or you don't pay. PS, even if we just chat, I'd love to hear what you're up to at ISL Talent, and then that email address there. So that's pretty cool, and they'll do that for every single lead. For now, I think I'm going to delete these, and I'll do this over and over again, and then finally what we can do is get into a Gmail node on this plus done button here for the loop node, and then go send a message, and then I'm actually going to add an account, add my Google account, saving for continue, and then we can send to ourselves. So if I go into Gmail, and if I just copy this over, oops, copy this email into here to myself, news, scrape, new leads, email, scraped, type, I'm going to do text, you have scraped a new set of leads and crafted a personalized email that is ready to go in instantly. I can't spell today. Instantly. I'm going to create this as an expression. Sheet. Google Sheet. Then we're going to find the Google Sheet ID. Which we're going to do. I think we're going to use the same one as we did in here. Use this by ID. And then go sheet ID here. So this is referencing this node here, the put headers in Google Sheet. And then I think that's all we need, just the Google Sheet. It could also be useful with raw data. It could also be useful to have Google Sheet with personalized emails. To have this. I wonder if we can get that. It looks like we could possibly get it. It could be possible to get it. It's not showing there, but because it's here is a good sign. Even though there's nothing under it. We could possibly add this manually. We could do $. Let me try zoom in here for you guys. $node, square brackets, single quote, and then add the name to that node. .json .spreadsheet ID maybe? Spreadsheet ID. Let me see if it what's it called here? Spreadsheet ID. It's, I assume with Google Sheets it will always be the same name. It would be good to have well, it would be good to have this. Doesn't look like it does. Hmm. Hmm. I think partly why this, yeah, because usually what you'll do is, if I was gonna use this, I'd recommend creating a Google Sheet instead of pasting it directly into one that's being created, and kind of use the technique used here. Yeah. Hmm. I think I might do that actually. Create this. I think I'm going to create a Google Sheet. Paste this here. Go. What I also have to test though. Item index might not work here. We go expression, we use that same $sign item index is number equal to, oh, not date, number equal to 1. And then I'll actually add a weight here. Sometimes if you don't add a weight, then this will just go on like an infinite loop until all the items have been processed. And you can't stop it, which I don't want. So let's go 2 here. Let's run this. See if the item index works. It might not work due to there being a loop. What is it equal to? Okay, what if we change it to 0? Yeah, it doesn't work. It's a bit of a sham. Doesn't work. I think it's because the item index, it kind of resets each time a new loop is going around, as opposed to here where it has 500 items going directly into the next node. But that just gave me an idea. What we could do is we could create a spreadsheet and add the headers here, or add them here, create the new spreadsheet here. So if we delete this, we add the new spreadsheet here, we create a spreadsheet, new, and then we go here, and then we add the first, just the headers. So this was used from earlier in this script, in this automation. And let's change these headers to be these headers and paste them in here. Now let's do the quotes. I'll personalize first line. So we add the header in there. Then we're going to be able to get the spreadsheet ID to send to our email. We can get the lead data, loop over the items still. Then we can use the append node, keep this all the same, take the data from here. I believe we should be able to. So let's just run this through, make sure it all works. Oh, that's not connected, and that's why it didn't work. Okay. What I want to do first is I actually want to make sure I'm going to take the spreadsheet ID. I want to go into here, and then I'm going to paste it into the URL. You could also find this just within Google Drive. You can see the headers there. Put those in bold. It's going to create a new one. But then what we should be able to do is now add a row into the newly created Google Sheet from over here, and then also send that spreadsheet within an email to ourselves, which I think is the most important spreadsheet for us to get. So if I go change this to be by ID, go to put headers in the spreadsheet, paste that in there, go here, by name, sheet 1, and subject, and now we can put the subject lines and all in here. So the subject, the personal first line, the offer, the call to action, the PS, and then if we scroll down a bit, the loop node, the email here. We save that. Command S to save. Only real ones do Command S. Should never save from up there. Personal opinion. Okay, now what we can do is now that we have the ID, we can create a URL, which I also didn't do with the other link above. So here is the spreadsheet ID. So what we can do now is if we head into a random Google Sheet, copy this entire URL, paste it into the part of the email you want, and then if we zoom in here, everywhere after the /d, and before the /edit is the Google Sheet ID. So if you delete that, and then drag and drop the dynamic spreadsheet ID from the put headers in Google Sheets node and put it between these two dashes, we'll be able to create a URL to link to the Google Sheet. And if we go in here, this can just be first. Honestly, I don't know why this happens, but then whenever I switch the item here with something like first, 99% of the time it works. First or last, it just refers to the first or last item. And we can do the same here. So I'm going to copy and paste this URL from any random Google Sheet, put it in the place of the email, zoom in here, delete everything after the /d/ and before the /edit. And then what I'm going to do is copy and paste this dynamic variable, Command X, Command X, and then in here, Command V, and there, I'm going to do first here as well, just to be safe, make sure it all works. Is this not an array? Okay. Well, then it should work in item. Okay. Put headers, I'm going to rename this. Put headers in personalized Google email sheet. Okay, I'll make this look all nice for you guys when you guys have the template. Everything in here you guys are going to get access to. And now, the full thing should run as expected. Let's unpin everything. Put this here. Put this down here, the email, the weight. I'm going to run this through here again. Let's run this. And I'll get back to you guys once everything has been scraped, once the email has been sent and everything has been done. So the scraper has finished scraping and generating all of the 500 emails. Oh yeah, 500 emails for each 500 prospects. And I've been sent the email here. You can see new leads, email scraped. You've scraped a new set of leads and crafted personalized emails that is ready to go on instantly. Here's the sheet with raw data. You can look in here. Got all the sheets with raw data. And then we've also got the sheet with the personalized email. Here it is. Offer, call to action, PS, and there should be around 500 in here. There's exactly 500, so that's perfect. And also, if you want this to be removed, I forgot to remove this, this kind of n8n attribution to the bottom. To remove that, you can head into n8n, head into that Gmail node, and then go down to the bottom. You'd have to go add option, append n8n attribution, and check this off. By doing that, this part of the email will be removed. And now there are a few small things that I've changed. One of those things have been set scraped info. This is a simple set node. If you search in set, it's called edit field set. And then what I've done in here is I've set all the data from this if item from the data that was scraped. This just makes it more organized later on. I've set all of the data that I want to use. So when we go into the Google Sheets node, you can see that in that node, I only have the data that I want to use. So it's just much easier to scrape rather than kind of rummaging around the big amount of data when we scrape a polar. It's just a bit quicker and a bit more organized for myself. Also, what I've done is added an if node here. This if node basically just says that uh, the data should only pass this point once both of these paths or both of these routes have been finished and added their data into this Google Sheet. So what I noticed was happening was that the workflow would run down this top path first and then the second path. But when it would run down this top path the first time, it would go down here, add the headers and all into the Google Sheet, but then it will continue running down the rest of the workflow before this node here had even been processed. So there was only one row that was being added into the Google Sheet instead of 500, the rest of these 499. So it'll go down the entire workflow and then process this to add the rest of the links. But I didn't want that. I wanted all of the links to be added into this Google Sheet before going down the rest of the workflow. So that's what this if node does. It just basically makes sure that all of these, both these paths have been processed and inserted all their data into this Google Sheet before passing through this node. And if we go into the if node, it's just a random, the first name. So this first name here, first name exists. And if it doesn't exist, then it doesn't go through this. It doesn't pass the node. And the reason that works is because it's a random field from this bottom path. And it works because on the first run, only the data passed from these two nodes exist in this node. but then on the second run, it goes down this path, and then in this node, only the data from the set scraped info node exists in this node, and this top path data doesn't exist. So that's why you can see in here, the first time it runs, first name does not exist. That you can see false there. And on the second time it runs, it does exist, and the other 499 items get passed through. And then I have the aggregate module again, or node again, which is completely empty, to change those 499 items into one item so that 499 Google Sheets don't be created, because that would be a disaster. Now, the other thing I've changed is I've added another if node right here before the ChatGPT node. This basically just confirms that the LinkedIn URL exists, because I only want to reach out to people who have LinkedIn accounts, LinkedIn profiles. So that's what this if node here does, and make sure that their LinkedIn URL exists before creating an email and putting it into the Google Sheet. And if it doesn't, if they don't have a LinkedIn URL, it will go down this path and back into the loop over items node to process the next lead. The last thing I've done is I've added another aggregate node, basically to change these 500 items into one item. This is another empty aggregate node. This is partly why this hasn't, well, this is why this Gmail node has an error, because before it was trying to send 500 emails to me. And it wasn't until after the entire workflow had finished running that I noticed this error was here. So then adding this aggregate node here will fix that issue of this getting an error, because it's no longer going to be trying to send 500 emails to my email address. So that's good. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, now that this is the entire workflow finished, to upload all this data into Instantly. I'm going to show you how to do it Instantly, because I use Instantly. You go File, Download as CSV, head into Instantly, into your campaigns, click on the campaign you want to add the leads to, go into Leads, Add Leads, Upload CSV. You can drag and drop it in here. The subject, personalized first line, and all can be custom variables. The offer. This is a new account that I haven't set billing up on in Instantly yet, so this won't allow me to upload all these. It will only allow me to upload 250 contacts, as you can see there. But for you, you'll click upload, and once you had uploaded the data, you'll be able to go into sequences and then reference all of the data that we had created in that list, like the subject line, the personalized first line, the offer, the call to action, and also the PS that would also be in there. So here's the entire flow in n8n, the entire cold email flow. Went through all the troubleshooting and issues, which is pretty cool. Got to go through that with you guys. And yeah, hope you enjoyed watching it.